Hi, Phil Aston here from Now Spinning Magazine with two box set reviews in one little tightly packed even video. And here I am in a kind of autumnal winter's afternoon in Cornwall in the UK, and it's absolutely pouring with rain outside. So if you can hear the rain over my voice, I apologise, but I suppose it gives it a more rustic, authentic feel. Now, why is it two and I haven't done separate videos? They're both for Pete Way, and I've done a lot of UFO recently, and I'm still working on my UFO studio albums, probably studio albums ranking video, going through all of them one by one. And I've done a few features on UFO recently, and I've read Pete Way's autobiography, and as we know, Pete Way sadly passed away not that long ago. So when I saw these advertised, I was very keen to know more about them, because I've got everything by UFO, Way Mogg and Michael Schenker, and this was an area of their career, of those musicians that make up that fantastic band over the years, that I wasn't that familiar with. And so rather than doing them separately, because I think they're very much linked, I thought I'd do them individually. So I'm going to talk about what I feel about them at the end, but let's have a look inside the boxes right now. So Pete Way, for Pete Way and UFO fans, this is a fantastic chance to catch up with a part of Pete's career that you may not necessarily be aware of. And I consider myself a big UFO fan, and I've tried to collect everything from every member and every direction you could possibly think of, from the beginning to the middle to the end. And to me, this was a fantastic way of immersing myself into aspects of Pete's career I was not that familiar with. So let's look at the first little box set first of all. This is the solo albums in 2004 with Amphetamine, Alive in Cleveland and Acoustic Animal. And it's 3 CDs, as I've just said, and it comes in a little clamshell box. It does have a booklet which basically focuses on the credits from the album at the time. I believe this was an EP. It's quite a short album, and the bonus tracks are demos, and that takes it to just over 30 minutes long. But this is brilliant. It really is. And again, I'll sum up at the end, but I absolutely love that. The best one of the set is Alive in Cleveland, which again I'll talk about again, but absolutely fantastic record, really raw rock and roll. And then complete opposite to that is Pete Way with an acoustic guitar, which is just him, and obviously it's just intimate and just lovely to hear this aspect of this wonderful, sadly missed, fantastic musician, Pete Way. The booklet, as I said earlier, basically goes in what probably was the credits from the original albums, but it's in there. We could have easily just let a fold-out poster or not bothered. But so this really helps as well in understanding. And the Live in Cleveland album, there's just three members, three people in that band. It's like a power trio, and the power that comes off them: Pete Way, Walt James on guitars, and Scott Phillips on drums. Absolutely superb. The next one follows on really, really well. This is The Plot versus Damage Control. Now, I didn't know about The Plot, and The Plot is Pete Way and Michael Schenker together. And as I'll sum up at the end, it's not what you expect. It really is different, and I really enjoyed it. Damage Control is a supergroup, really, with Spike from the Quireboys, Pete Way, Robin George, and Chris Slade on drums. Very, very raw. And then Damage Control Raw is really, really, really raw. And I'll explain what that's about at the end. And then The Plot versus Damage Control, the booklet, very similar to the other box set. It's the credits really from the set, from the box set. Sorry, from the individual albums, but just incredible. Especially the plot with, as I say, Pete Way, Michael Schenker, Jeff Martin, and it's again a power trio, which I didn't really know anything about. And then we've got the credits from Damage Control, the first album. some nice pictures, and then the raw album and more information there about how that particular version of the album came about, and a nice picture of Pete at the back. So that's 2 fantastic box sets, highly recommended for UFO fans. So that's Pete Way, the solo albums, and Pete Way, the plot and Damage Control. 2 little box sets, 6 albums in all. Many of these are over 60 minutes long, absolutely packed full of music. So what do I think? As you know, I'm a massive UFO fan. I'm working my way through my ranking video, looking at all their albums, and I've done features on UFO, either in video and also on the website as well. So I feel that I've tried to accumulate everything from their output, depending on who's been in the band, from Schenker, to the Waygmog band, everything, Waysted, everything really. So this was an era I didn't know much about. And we think about UFO as being a very much melodic rock band, and when you read the booklets or you read his autobiography, which I highly recommend, that Pete put out a few years ago before he sadly passed away, is he was against keyboards coming into UFO. He wasn't keen on all the strings that were put onto albums like Lights Out, etc. When you listen to this, you realise that the guy that there was the out-and-out rocker, the one that really liked to, you can see why so many photographs taken with Lemmy from Motorhead, was Pete Way. He really loved to rock. And when you think about UFO being this melodic rock band, what this shows you is a different side to Pete Way's personality. Where shall I start? I think we'll start with this one, the solo albums, because as I say, the first album I think must have been a short mini album or something, but it's raw. It's very punkish in a way, and his vocals have got like this almost John Lydon kind of rasp to them, and it's great stuff. It really is. It's Walt James on guitar, Scott Phillips on drums. There's not one bad track on this. It really had me bouncing around the room with my air guitar. I absolutely loved it, but it's very different to UFO. It's harder, it's rawer, and some of the tracks are very, very Motorhead. The way the guitars come in, it's very fast. When I'm talking about Motorhead, I'm talking about the original Motorhead, almost like the Chiswick stuff, City Kids. It's that kind of stuff. But acoustic album aside, which is obviously as you expect, this live in Cleveland, sounds like one of the. It sounds like you'd really want to be there. It sounds like it's recorded in a bar where everyone's had a few to drink. That could also be the band, I don't know. But it sounds absolutely full on party rock, and they're just on fire on this. And they do a cover of Too Hot to Handle. So I'm just picking out the tracks you might know, and it's stonking. It really is burning, that version. But the whole set is just really, really full on. Pete Way as a voice far removed from Phil Mogg. He's not trying to be that. He really had a rock and roll attitude, and this was obviously bubbling up inside him, and I don't think he was, as I say, the tracks we love, a UFO, like Try Me and all that kind of like balladry they did. This is the rock and roll side of UFO, and I didn't realise until I've listened to all of this and read some of the notes, and again traversed my way through his autobiography to recap for this, just how much he really, really liked to rock. So that's that one, and again I really, really liked it. The biggest surprise was this one, because I thought I knew most things about Michael Schenker and UFO, but the fact that the plot was an album, a power trio with a drummer and Michael Schenker and Pete Way, and the fact that Schenker obviously changed the dial on how he played and how he wrote for this. They both have made a very, very punk orientated raw metal album, high energy, and it's not like any of the back catalogue, and I love it. It's from 2003. Now, whether it may, I don't know what was going on or how this came about. I mean, you can enlighten me, anyone that's watching this, but this is really, really raw rock, and the fact that Schenker has tweaked his style to do this, when really every time I dip in and out of Michael Schenker's career, I go, oh, it's Michael Schenker, oh, yeah, it's Michael Schenker. But this one is different. The other ones, some of you may know who follow me on this channel, on the website, know that I did a podcast not that long ago with Robin George, who talked about the fact he'd done a couple of albums with Pete Way under the name of Damage Control. And as you know, in this box, here they are. Now, it's interesting because the one of them is like a supergroup, which is Robin George on guitars and vocals, Pete Way bass, Spike from the Quireboys, and Chris Slade on drums. Great album. Spike obviously does that very full-on, turned up to 11 rock voice. He makes Brian Johnson from AC/DC sound like Frank Sinatra. It really is full-on rock voice, and it's a very raw album. It's not polished. It sounds like they're in the room with you. It really does. So that's what makes the next one, which is called Damage Control Raw, quite remarkable, really, because it's basically, and both of these are nearly 60 minutes long. This is basically this album, but without Spike singing on it. So they redid it, but with Robin and Pete singing. So the vocals are more melodic, but they've said that they took off all the equalization, all the reverb, and they wanted to make it as raw as possible. So I've just said that this one sounds like you're in the room with them. This one sounds like you're in the speakers. This is like you're literally in a smaller room with them, and you're so close to them you're actually drinking this, out the same glass. It is like going into a rehearsal room with them, but it's really raw. And to hear these musicians play like this, it's very intimate, and it's great to have it all in one place. It really is. So if you are a UFO fan, because that's really, those of you who are watching this and think are going to be UFO or fans of British heavy rock, or there's going to be a connection with UFO. If you've just stumbled across Pete Way, good for you. But I think these are quite hard to find, or would have been hard to find. So thank you, Cherry Red and H.N.E Recordings, for making it possible for us UFO fans and rock fans to finish the parts of this musical jigsaw that we may not have been able to do or even find individually. So it's absolutely superb. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you for Andy, Clive, Chris and Yogi and all my patrons and supporters. Please subscribe if you've just found Now Spinning magazine, and ring that little bell so you don't miss out on any future videos, because there are tons coming up. Stay safe. Remember that music is the doctor and the healer. Keep spinning those records, and I shall see you on my next video.